All right, sir. Looks like we are live on Facebook. I guess good morning to anyone in my neck of the woods. Good afternoon to you, Master Wiskin. How you doing, sir?
I'm not too bad, Master Watson. Thank you for the invite. Welcome to not sunny England, and I've attired myself, I think, in the appropriate manner. So thank you for replicating that. But no, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this with me. We were talking earlier where you gussied yourself up for the occasion.
Well, this, as I said, this is my Master Khan will be shocked because he saw me yesterday. Up to yesterday, I had a full beard going on for about the last 6 months since furlough hit. And it was basically my furlough for. And then Master Khan said, "Master Wiskin, are you going to do the interview in your beard?" And I went, "Oh, I think so. So I might sharpen it up a bit." And he insinuated that I might look older than my years with a beard. So I think he was actually just jealous of my beard. That's what it was. And so I woke up this morning and I thought, yeah, it may be time for it to go. So I had some fun taking it off, doing all different styles. But I'm not too sure now. I might grow another one straight away. But there we go.
That would have been, you could have done it live and everyone could have voted on different styles.
You've missed a trick there. That would have been a unique Masters interview. In fact, Master Robertson, one of our masters in the UK, he had Grandmaster Beaudoin shave his head live on Facebook Live for charity at one of our masters clinics. So we've been beaten to that position already. Unfortunately,
I do remember seeing those pictures. That was quite funny. And he still, I think for the most part, he stuck with that look, didn't he?
I think he has no choice. That's what I say.
So how have things been going for you in 2020, as far as, obviously you had the furlough but
well, I'm still on part-time furlough, so that's still not rectified fully yet. But from the point of view of the studio, like us all, it's been strange times, isn't it? It's been very strange times. If you had said at the end of 2019 we'll be all on an online training system for several months of the year and concerned about student numbers and all that stuff, I wouldn't have believed you. But so 2020 hit, and the COVID virus hit us a little bit before you guys in the States. And all of a sudden we found ourselves on lockdown. And for a number of months, it was serious lockdown over here. I mean, you could literally just leave your house to go and get some food and essential work. Apart from that, you're locked in. Lucky enough, I've got a big garden. So that's when I started growing my beard, by the way, and my hair. I think I started looking like Tom Hanks from Castaway. I was running down the garden shouting, "Wilson, Wilson." But it was, from the point of view of the studio, it was hard times. And myself and my other half, my much better half, Master Donna Harvey, we went straight onto Zoom. Really with the thought in our heads, it's going to be a 5 or 6 week lockdown at most, then it'll pass and we'll all be back to normal again. And plainly that wasn't the case. But we just went straight onto Zoom to ensure that we could keep our students active, infused, so that we didn't come back to the studio with the sound of crickets and tumbleweed blowing around, really. So we did that for free for the first month and a half. We just did it free. We just wanted the students to turn up. Right. We turned our living room to a dojang. Even if we're just going in there to watch TV, we felt like we were bowing, and then we'd stop ourselves short because we're just going to go and watch the TV. But it did the trick. The students kept on coming. I probably had about, I don't know, a 20% loss of students overall, but 80% was solidly stayed on. As I said, about six weeks later, we started sort of being a pay-per-view service. But that was fine. Obviously, reduced rates to reflect how the training was going on. But it worked, and that was the main thing. There were benefits as well because we were able to train Master Khan on a Friday nights with our kind of nights we normally go and train Master Khan down in Huntingdon. It's about a 45-minute trip from here. But quite often work would get in the way, and so we wouldn't make it every Friday. But there's been very few Fridays in the last 6 months that myself and Donna have missed because it's been on Zoom. Right. So there's been benefits, but the whole God knows where we'd be if Zoom hadn't been around for the last 6 months. And of course, lockdown slowly eased. We started doing some outside classes, and now for the last month we've been back inside, but to strict regulations how we have to train. As agreed with government authorities and governing bodies for martial arts. So, of course, I've got the same problems that we all have as instructors. You have a finite space, a finite number of training slots that may be not as many as the students that want to use them. So it's hard to circle that square, really, or square that circle, whatever the phrase is. And I'm not quite sure, we're not quite there yet, but it's just great to be back inside. And fingers crossed it will continue, but our numbers seem to be going the wrong way again with COVID. So you never know, we may get further interruptions and be back on Zoom again. Yay.
Yeah. At least you have something to fall back on now.
Yeah.
Breaking news: Master Khan is not jealous. He just sent me a message. I have a couple people watching. Lindsay Dudgeon says hello. Yoshioda from Region 5.
Hi.
Master Chappell says, "Who's this young master?"
Hey.
You told me the other day you're how old? 30 years old? 35?
That's all I admit to, but you can add another 25 onto that, unfortunately. Onto the 30, not the 35. So, yeah, I know I look much, much younger than my years, but yeah, 55 is where I'm at now. Don't know where those years have gone. Silly, really.
Well, we're going to talk about those years.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get started. Just go back and talk to us about how you got started, like why martial arts appealed to you and how you got your start in the martial arts.
Well, it wasn't with Tang Soo or any kind of karate originally. When I was about eight or nine, I remember my mum taking me along to Cambridge, which at that time was a town about 10 miles from where I live. And there's a judo class. So my mum signed me up to a judo class when I was about, as I say, about eight or nine. And I kind of enjoyed it, I think, but obviously not sufficiently enough that I didn't give it up about a year later. But that was kind of my first taste of martial arts. And then there's a long, long, long break until about 1986. So I was 21 years old. And to this day, I wish I'd started up 10 years earlier, but 21 years old, walking on the street, and I saw a sign in a hall in St. Ives, which is a town about 6 miles away from where Master Khan lives, anyway. But it wasn't Master Khan's class. It was an association, or they call themselves Modern Contact Karate. So this is what 1986. They're not around now, but I think it's an association of about 4 dojans, 4 instructors, basically. But that was all right, actually. I mean, it wasn't a specific traditional style, but the training was okay. It was good. Probably going by the title, you probably guessed that it was contact sparring, so it was quite effective from that point of view. It wasn't point sparring; it was contact sparring, and it wasn't a bad founding in a martial arts. I think probably I wouldn't still be here or be there 35 years later. By the very nature of what it was, but it was good grounding. But unfortunately, the instructor had a car crash. He couldn't continue, so the dojo closed down. And one of the other students there said, "Oh, I've heard of another class up at Ramsey, up at Upward." And at that time, RAF Upward was although it's RAF Upward, but it's a US military personnel base, which used to house US military for the nearby Alconbury airfield, which was a working airfield. And the class was run by my original instructor, was a man called John Hanson, who was a second Dan at the time. He was a retired United States Air Force person. Really nice guy. I remember thinking at the time, he's a second Dan. God, second Dan. If I ever get to second Dan, that would be a job well done. You know what I mean? You sort of your first instructor, you think, that's going to be the mecca. That's going to be the ultimate goal. But so I was there, I joined in, thoroughly enjoyed it. But soon after joining in, I got to know the association more, and I got to find out actually that Master Khan, who Master Khan was, and also that he had studios probably closer to where I lived than the one I just subsequently joined. But that was how the land laid itself at the time. I trained there, thoroughly enjoyed it. I took my black belt in 1992. So my first day in 1992, and shortly after taking that, John Hanson up and left back to the States. So I think he then went up to Canada. He lived up in on the western coast of Canada. Kept in touch with him for a little while, but we lost touch, unfortunately. And with Master Khan's blessing, I basically took over the studio. So that's kind of my my inroad into how I started with World Association Tang Soo Do. And obviously I knew Master Khan from the early days within it, although my studio was the Ramsey studio. I used to train Master Khan quite often as well in St. Ives, which was where I lived at the time. I used to go Sunday mornings. There's this smaller hall, and we used to call it, well, it's called Broadleys. The name of the hall was Broadleys, but it was known as the Sweat Box, because you used to go there on a Sunday morning at 10:30. You used to come out about 20 pounds lighter by about 3 hours later, and you could fit 25, 30 people in there maybe, but that'd be it, maximum. And as you know, training was different in those days. So it was sort of serious training. They said, not that today's not serious training, but it was, I don't think you probably, unless you lived down those times, 30 years ago when you trained, I don't think you probably know how training was then compared to now. But that was, I mean, it's great fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it, the Broadleys days. And yeah, but Master Khan at that time, Master Khan was very different at that time. He looked different. He had, this is sort of what, these are probably late 80s, early 90s. He had sort of big glasses on. He had longer hair. He had a moustache. And I always remember he used to play with his glasses, in the sense of playing jokes with his glasses. We had a demonstration. We had a kickboxing evening at a pool club in St. Ives, late evening. And a number of us turned up. We did some kickboxing, and he did a demonstration of cutting a cucumber with a live blade sword. Well, imagine trying to do that these days. The lawyers would be all over it, but a live blade sword. And he set up his friend who ran the club to lie down with the cucumber on his stomach. And sort of Master Khan came up and sort of, showed the blade and looking good with it. And then he kind of took off his glasses, put them down, and then kind of made out he's trying to feel for where his friend was in the cucumber. He found the cucumber, and then cucumber cut in two instantly, and no blood. So it was very impressive. It was a good times, good days in those days.
Excellent. I've heard Master Khan liked to spar back then. So, coming from modern contact karate, I'm sure you fit in nicely on the sparring nights.
I'll tell you what, the Master Khan was the only master. So when I joined, Master Khan was the only master. Certainly in the UK, and probably in Europe at that time. He was the only master. So it was, I used to tell my friends, they said, where do you train? I said, Ramsey. I said, John Hanson's my instructor. I said, but our main man is a man called Master Khan. And I said, you should see him kick. I said, Master Khan's kicks compared to other black belts is like a black belt kicking to a white belt. That's how I used to sort of say. I was in awe of his kicking, basically. And his kicks aren't still too bad today. They're not too slow. So, what am I kidding? They're still fantastic. So, but I remember going down to Broadleys, and do you know what? I must have been maybe about a green belt. And my kicking, early days, wasn't too bad. I've got hip problems these days, so it's affecting me a little bit more than I want to at the moment. But yeah, I was a pretty good kicker, sort of probably up to, 15, 20 years ago. And I remember being in front of him and we were sparring. Of course, he must have been taking it very, very lightly. Thank you very much. But I thought, okay, got Master Khan, got the European director in front of me. And I laid this roundhouse up and it went bang. And it got him. I was shocked as anyone. But he must have just sort of seen it come in. And I'll let this green belt just have a go. But it went on. I thought, oh, that didn't mean, that's pretty good. And then he got his serious face on. I thought serious face, but then he starts jumping up a bit and he started coming in and fainting. And I was like, oh God, I want to get pummeled. I want to get pummeled any moment. So I was waiting for an attack to come in. And when I thought he was going to come in, I did the fastest spinning kick I could try as a green belt. Maybe as a brown belt, green belt, I think it was. Unfortunately, I didn't quite look over my kicking shoulder at the right time. So I laid this spinning kick in and I felt it make contact. And I looked round and there's Master Khan. I made impact with a incorrect zone, shall we say, and I'm thinking my martial arts career is over. What am I going to do? But like a gentleman, he never mentioned it again. And yeah, I mean his sparring is and was fantastic to watch. Brilliant.
So you got your Chodan and you take over a club. How scared were you to like fill in the shoes of your instructor, and then, do it so Master Khan feels like he's made the right choice?
I'd say it came a bit earlier than I thought it would do. I mean, I literally just taken the Chodan, and as I said, John Hanson went back to the States. He proposed me to Master Khan to take over the class. Because you have to remember, the classes in this country were, and kind of still are, not so much, I don't believe, as a commercial enterprise as you have in the States. So it's not as if there was a lease on a commercial premises to take over and all that kind of stuff. We just continued using the same hall. We just hired it on a monthly basis to do so. So changing over class instructors isn't sort of maybe such a legal minefield as it may be elsewhere if there's a commercial contract to take care of. So I was proposed, I think, to Master Khan by John Hanson, Mr. Hanson, and Master Khan agreed it. Obviously, I'm very thankful for that. There's a vote of confidence, and I progressed, obviously, instructing at that stage. I think it's fair to say that probably it impacted also on my ability to get as many classes in as I wanted for my own training, because I'm trying to build up the class. I think at that time I'm doing 3 times a week, and I know sort of to get to my second Dan, it took me a year longer. I had to get the lessons in. That's our rules. No arguments from me. So that was one slightly negative impact, but the actual thought of taking over the class, building it up was fantastic. The important thing to remember here, though, is that the Ramsey class was the original World Tung Salo class in Europe, basically in the UK, and therefore in Europe. Shortly after Master Khan had transferred across to World Association from Muda Guam, the Ramsey studio was his class. He'd opened it up earlier under Muda Guam, but effectively then that transferred across to World Association. So in 1984, so in another 4 years will be our 40th anniversary. So we were the original World Association class within Great Britain. And there was a kind of a gravitas about that, really. It had to succeed. How could I let that one ever fail? But it was in the early times, it was a little bit touchy, because about 2 years after I took the class over, the airbase closed down. So we had to leave that airbase and then go out into the community and find other halls to make our dojangs. And I don't know, for probably best part of 9 months to a year, maybe, I had a pretty small class, because the class up to that point had been a mishmash between local Brits like me, who would go past the machine gun toting MPs on the gate to get to our class each day, and on-site US families, US personnel. But when we came out, we'd obviously lost the American percentage of our class. And so we're kind of starting afresh, really, apart from a core of maybe 5, 6, 7 people at the most. And we had to build it up. And to this day, I'm very, very grateful to those people. Donna was one. I've got a lady in my class called Nadine Di Pasquale. She was one of my originals. She actually left training. She got to second Dan. She left training for 15 years. And then came back about 18 months ago and is re-establishing herself again. She's back now to first Dan. But those six people really helped me, because we'd go up there, we'd meet 2 hours before a class. I'd each give them a wad of 500 posters, and we'd ticket maybe 2,000 houses between us in that night before we then started the class with those same 6 people. And so I owe a debt of gratitude to this. But that's what every instructor wants, don't we? We want dedicated students who enjoy it so much that they're prepared to go out their way to assist the class. So then it built up over the years. It has been bigger than it is now sometimes, and it's also been a lot smaller. But it's a good class. It's a solid class, and I'm very proud of it.
That's excellent. It's always nice to have that core group of students, and you always have people quit and it's nice for them to come back, and then obviously great they actually stick around.
Especially when they were sort of small, and then they maybe quit, and they come back and they're 6'3", bigger than you with a beard. You think, wow, okay, I remember you. Absolutely. Yeah, it's great.
I've had that happen before, and it's like, who's this man with a beard? Like, oh, I remember you when you were 13.
Yeah.
Master Khan just messaged me and said that the club opened in September 21st, 1981 is when he originally opened it.
Yeah.
Under the Mudakwan. Oh man, he sent me. Let's see if I can get this. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's John Hanson in the middle.
Okay.
So on the right hand, the tall good-looking one is me as a brown belt, and the one on the other side is one of my original students. Is my brother from another mother and father, for that matter. He's a very good friend of mine called Paul Larson, but Master Paul Larson these days. So here's one of my originals as well. And so that was us in that dojo. So what were we there? Brown belt. So 1990 maybe, something like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's interesting for me. Your journey is very similar to mine. I started when I was 21. I became an instructor. I literally tested for my black belt and then became an assistant instructor for Master Beaudoin. And was the same as you, where it was like, me? Are you sure? It's like, okay, if you say so. You're the Salvanim, so whatever you say goes. I'll happily do this for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, thrown into the deep end, I suppose, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, it might have been better if it had been planned, or maybe a second Dan. I think probably I'm thinking in my head, second Dan. Definitely want to try and get out there and maybe start teaching if I'm allowed to, if I get authority to. But yeah, to have it literally thrust on me, I don't know, weeks after it got presented, I think it was interesting.
Now, through your GUP journey, and then even Chodan, Edan, were you a competitor?
Yeah. I used to love competing. It was nice. Probably, I don't know. It probably took me, I reckon, about half a dozen competitions to win anything. But I think once you got that first thing, on your mental piece, they just kind of come. And it was, I think, once you know how things are happening in a competition, what's expected. I never consider myself. There were some amazing competitors, and I just always wished I want to be like that. That's really good. But I did okay. I think I got grand champion a couple of times in the UK competitions. Never did the worlds. I think that's a thing I regret. I think it would have been nice to do a world as a competitor, to do a championship. But yeah, I used to love competing in this country, and then I carried it on with my own students. So in the early, not in the early days, but when the studio got more formalized and we had a good number of students, we used to hire out coaches, 50-seater coaches. And 40 of those seats would be filled up by students, and the other 10 would be maybe parents. We get on the coach at 4 o'clock in the morning to go travel 3 or 4 hours to the next competition. So they were good days. But for myself personally, and hope for the students, it's I don't think the competitions, certainly for my class, are as for my students, that is, not for me, but for my students, they're probably not as important as I thought. Consider them when I was a GUP grading, a GUP student, and I still do. It'd be nice for my class to maybe have some more competitors, but that's just the call of it. And we don't force anyone to compete, but I do emphasise, the fun of it. You meet people. Sometimes you meet those people only in competitions. Oh, I remember you. I'm going to beat you this time, hopefully. And you make friends, and it's a really good thing. And things like the European Championships and the World Championships, especially the Worlds. When you're walking for the first time, you sort of, wow. And it's 2-day competition. There's 2,000 people competing. There's 60 rings or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's got to be seen and hopefully done by everyone at some stage in their tongues of their career.
Absolutely, I agree. On a normal year, how many tournaments are usually happen in Europe? Like as far as like in your area?
Great. GB probably, for a lot of its history, would have at least 3 competitions a year. and then you have the Europeans thrown in, and then every other year, obviously, the Worlds, because Europeans would go the opposite year to Worlds. In recent years, I think because we got so much to fit in, the competitions that GB run has gone down to 2 on average. It'd be nice to maybe fit another one into the calendar if we can, but it's just so much on, and Master Dawn Khan and Master Khan obviously work a lot at trying to get the schedule out each year, and there's not a spare weekend. You look at the weekends, it's hard to fit competitions in, but it'd be good if certainly if we can keep up with the 2 that we've currently got and maybe expand it a little bit more again. We'll have to see.
Are there any guys that you used to compete with that are now masters alongside you?
Oh, crikey. You got me thinking now. I think I'm a slightly funny generation. The reason why I say that is, again, when I started, Master Khan was the only master. And then you had Master Carter and Master Green come into that threshold as well. Well, they were the generation above me, so I never got to compete with them.
Okay.
Master Butcher. There's a good example. So Master Butcher, yes, I competed with Master Butcher. He's Odan and myself. So I competed with Master Butcher. Probably lost far more times than I ever won anything against him. But then there's kind of a drop off in the sense of age. So when you look along our masters lines now, there's lots and lots of really, really talented, but sort of several years younger than me in age masters. So I never really got the chance to compete against them. So yes, there's probably not many masters in our ranks I've competed against, but no, that's because I'm a strange age, I suppose.
A couple people saying hi. Master Amarin says hello from
hi.
Master Robinson. Master Wiskin has been one of my idols from the beginning. So
yeah, well, that's likewise, sir. Likewise, sir. I mean, Master Robinson came across to a few of our European masters clinics. He was my partner in a karaoke headbanging for 2AC/DC. Which is on film somewhere. We're open to blackmail, no doubt. And he is also my corner man when I had a sing-off against Master Ashley Robertson.
That's what I was saying. Robertson, sorry. But Robinson is fantastic as well.
Yeah, well, Master Robertson was who I beat in the sing-off competition. So, no, Master Robertson's a good man. Good man.
Yes, they're both very good. They're both great men. Master D says she's listening. Master Chappell, of course, has that video, he says.
Yeah, I do some as well, but I was hoping it wasn't put on live anywhere. But it's no, Master Dawn. Hi, Master Dawn. Tell you what, I've been talking obviously a lot about Master Khan because he's a huge, great influence in my early times and still is. We are Great Britain times a huge vote of debt to Master Khan for the effort that's put in. We wouldn't be the same association, I don't believe, if it hadn't been for him at our helm. However, he also needed, as we all do, a complete backup. And Master Dawn Khan has been in the background, if you were working tirelessly. And the GB Tungsten wouldn't be the same now if it hadn't been for her as well, doing the scheduling, doing the paperwork, the administration, all that kind of stuff. So thank you, Master D, for your efforts as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a great time interviewing both of them.
Yeah.
And can't wait to actually get over one of these days for the European Masters Clinic. It's on my bucket list.
No, we thoroughly enjoy it when we get our US Masters visiting us. It's great is to make their acquaintance and see them in and out of Dobot, but also just to learn. We're a big family, aren't we? So it's great when we get visitors coming across. So yeah, I expect your good self there to hopefully give us some lessons, something to learn from you, sir.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll get there. So going up through the ranks, obviously you probably had some opportunities to spend some time with Grandmaster Shin. What were your first impressions when you got the chance to meet him for the first time?
Well, that came in actually, no, I lie. I was going to say came in the first Masters Clinic, but no, I'd met Grandmaster Shin in 1988. Okay. He was over here for, I think, a seminar at that time, because we had a seminar in Huntingdon. I think I was a red belt. So I got to meet Grandmaster Shin at that stage. Obviously, just a quick picture taken, and then the next one on the line had the picture taken. But it's the first kind of, wow, that's Grandmaster Shin out there. This is really big. And then first time I suppose spent time with Grandmaster Shin in more than just a photo call would be obviously at the Masters Clinic. My first Masters Clinic was 2001 in Wales, and I had the privilege of being invited. And I still remember to this day, we were all waiting in the foyer of the hotel, and Grandmaster Shin's car pulled up, and shouts go out, Grandmaster Shin's here, Grandmaster Shin's here, we're all ready. In my head, I was going, Quanchen. You obviously know why I'm doing that to myself, Quanchen. So someone's calling in, hey, so we all bow, and as he walks past, he sort of looks at everyone in the eye and waves, and as he comes past me, I've done my deepest bow, sub on him, okay, and I'm like, oh no, and he kind of heard me, and just gave me a look, and then just carried on, went up to greet others. So the next year, 2002, I'm in another hotel entrance where I thought I mustn't do that again. Quanchen. And he came in, someone called it in, and he came up to me, and he just walked past me, and he kind of opened his eye, as if to acknowledge my presence. And I went, God knows, summon him, nice to see you again. And he just looked at me, shook his head. He remembered me from last year, he smiled, he just wagged his finger, and then carried on walking. So, they say first impressions are the most important. I don't think my first impressions were particularly great, maybe. But no, what a man. It was fantastic to train underneath him. And the European Masters Clinic, well, even now is still a lot smaller than the US Clinic. We get, 60 Masters training there, and candidates. There's a Masters and Candidates Clinic. So we have more time, potentially, I think, to get a little bit more one-on-one, get to know the people directly. Whereas I believe you have 300, 350, I think, in the US clinics, so then it may be a bit harder to achieve that. So it was, nice times to be able to get to talk to Grandmaster Shin whenever I could, and obviously subsequently since then Grandmaster Beaudoin and Grandmaster Strong. Some memories of Grandmaster Shin I remember from the clinics was I remember going for my fourth down. It was in Holland, and we're on a coach going from the hotel to the training hall, and I had my thesis on me, and I handed my thesis to Grandmaster Shin. I was sitting in the seat sort of just in front of me, and I turned and I said, Grandmaster, can I give this to you now to read at your convenience? He said, yeah, thank you, Phil. There's another thing. He used to be kind of out of the dojo and sort of first name terms. I found that nice. So he took the thesis. I remember training all that day, as you do. Your work is sweat up, you're training hard, and every now and then I sort of look over my shoulder. There'd be Grandmaster in the corner, flicking through the page, and the next page. I'm thinking, God, I hope he likes it. Carried on training, lunch, looked across, still reading it. Afternoon session, can't remember, we were doing forms probably. Turned around, he's just really getting to the end, and I'm thinking, okay, I've had nothing from his facial features as to whether he thinks that was good or quick page turning or whatever. Anyway, we were walking out to the coach that day, and I heard a quick step, obviously shoes on rather than trainers, quick stepping coming up to me, and I got a tap on the shoulder, and I turned around, Grandmaster Shin, he goes, Phil. I said, yes, Conjure, this is good, we can use this. Gave me another tap on the shoulder, and then walked faster towards the coach, and I thought, job done, brilliant, that was nice. So yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's one of my memories of Grandmaster Shin in the Masters clinics. I remember him actually. I've got 3 or 4 memories, serious memories that never leave me. I think my interview. I'm not quite sure how it necessarily worked in the States back then, but certainly we had, when I was pre-testing, or before the pre-test, we'd have an interview with Grandmaster Shin, Master Khan, I think it's Master Green as well. So literally like a job interview. the light bulb was turned around to your face, and you kind of asked about your thoughts, your aspirations, who you are as a person. Now Grandmaster Shin was supposed to make a final evaluation, and yes, I always remember my interview before getting accepted to a pre-test for my 4th dan. There was and the final one was it was the board breaking in Germany, 5th dan. No, it was my last 4th dan test, the 3rd 4th dan test in Germany. And my previous 2 tests, we had 10 boards every grading to break. And the previous 2 tests, the breaking had gone to perfection. The boards were just splinters flying apart. It was lovely for me to see. I'm not saying my technique should have come to that end result, but they did. They smashed accordingly. It's nice. Come Germany, and I spoke to Master Beaudoin after the event, and he confirmed this was the case. They'd found the hardest fossilized Black Forest oak, I think it was, that they could possibly find to make into our breaking boards. So come the breaking in the test, I think there's 6 candidates on the floor, and we'd all done well previously on the previous test of breaking. Literally, we all were kicking these things and punching them and elbowing them, whatever, as hard as we could. Not one broke until Master Javid, my very good friend from Holland, he managed to finally break one with a front kick, I think it was, and I've never forgiven him to this day. He broke one. How did he do it? So I remember at the end of the test, I went and got one of these boards because I was going to take it. I was either going to break it or I was going to burn it. One of the two. Either way, it wasn't going to survive this life. So it was going to go one way or the other. And I had it down by my feet as I was getting the trainers on. This is, I don't know, sort of 12:30 at night after the test. Had it down by my feet. And then these 2, out the corner of my eye, these 2 feet came up, stood there, polished shoes. So it's obviously one of the masters on the panel or Grandmaster, I don't know. So I looked at the legs, and there's Grandmaster Shin looking down, just laughing, shaking his head, big laugh. And he went, "Pretty tough board, Phil, yeah?" And I went, "Yes, crunching him." And he laughed a bit more and then just walked off. That was it. I think he knew what had gone on as well. So it was a pleasure to be able to train under Grandmaster Shin, and obviously then to be presented my belt in 2008 in Greece with him as well. So yeah, that's fantastic.
That's great. I was perusing through some stuff and found your master's profile on the association page.
Okay. And
you mentioned a story about bricks that you had trouble breaking at some point. It was a story there was a demonstration.
Well, strangely enough, I've just been talking about not being able to break breaking boards, and yeah, that was another.
Sorry, you said it and it popped into my mind. I'm sorry.
I've forgotten all about that one. Is that still on the? I'll have to take it off the profile. Unfortunately,
you'd be surprised if you Google masters that have been around long enough. You can find an old school association profile on them. That's my.
We used to do a lot of demonstrations in those days, obviously to raise awareness of the class, and we'd normally end with breaking, and we used to do it through concrete blocks rather than wood boards or anything. I used to do concrete blocks, and I used to provide them. Now, my working career has always been within the construction industry, and so the technicalities of what blocks you're looking for. Standard strength aerated blocks, please. Well, I left it foolishly to one of my black belts. He said, "Yeah, I'll bring some blocks in." Okay, brilliant. So we turned up to the what was I looking for? The display. So turned up to the display. Display went fine. It went absolutely fine. Everything was done fine. Came to the break-in. Holding the blocks up. We had 5 people holding a block, single blocks. I had about 3 blocks because these are, I think, 4 blocks probably on a plinth just ready to break. But anything that all my students and me threw at these blocks, it wouldn't touch. We were bouncing off of them, so I didn't even bother trying to break the stack of them. No, I mean it was just silly. Eventually one myself broke one with just a basic skip side kick. I mean, forget all the jump 360s and all that kind of stuff that you had planned. No, just a basic side kick, skip side kick to break one. And there's kind of a, from the audience, because they'd seen about 15 minutes of trying to break just one block. And so at the end, I said to this lad, I said, where did you get these? He said, oh, just off a building site I'm working on. And when I looked at them, they were like high strength, high cement content strength blocks. You would have needed a jackhammer to get through them. So there we go. Always be aware of your equipment when you're using
That's right.
it.
It doesn't sound like you've had much luck with breaking material. A couple people are saying hello. Shazan Amin says hello.
Shazan, hi Shazan.
Dominic Wiskin says hello as well.
Happens to be my son. Good looking man. He's got the genetics.
I saw recently on one of your posts, you sent me a thing to like your page that one of your sons is just recently pre-tested for a rank.
That's Dominic. Yeah, that's Dominic. So he's pre-tested out the third Dan. We're just fingers crossed waiting to hear, hopefully, if we can have the main test. Depends if things happen on lockdown or whatever. But no, I mean, they all did a good job on that pre-test. This is a few weeks back. We were lucky enough that we could find a hall with the help of Master Indy Benning over in Coventry area of England. And it all went really well. It was really good testing. They all did good. I think they were stir crazy. It was nice to get out and not just train in public, but have their testing in public. Otherwise, we might have had to go down the route of a Zoom grading, which I know has happened in the States. And we've had gut gradings over here, well, certainly one so far on Zoom. Well, when I say one in my area, it's been more than that around the country. Master Khan's obviously held more than just one Zoom gut grading. But it was we breathed a sigh of relief when we found that we could do this pre-test in person and obviously stick to within the COVID regulations that we're having to do.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a good pre-test. Everyone did well, and I think I bought my son a pint of beer that night as a celebration. If I remember right, that was all good.
Awesome. Now you have Dominic. You have another son as well.
Yep, Max is a few years younger than Dominic. Max trained with me as well because Dominic started with me when he was about 6 or 7. Max kind of started at the same age, but this is a few years later. Max stayed with me till he was about 10. He got to a red belt, but then he found his true path laid in a preference for playing soccer. You call it soccer, it's football to us, but football. It was one of those things you can't force your family, your sons to train, but he was quite nervous to tell me. He let his mum know, and his understanding is all fine. But I did tell him at that time he's written out my will forever now, so that's how it goes. You give up training, But it was So I've got 2 sons, very proud of them both. But it's Dominic that's training still for the moment.
Excellent. And then your Master Harvey, right? Your
my much better other half. Is that okay, darling? She forced me to say the better part of it, and so I know. Seriously, I know who's the boss, but no.
Same in my family. It's the same.
Well, I mean, we've been together for a decade now. It's a great relationship. We've known each other a long time. She's been a student, but the benefit is that we're both tungsten O. There's no friction, never has been, in wanting to train, going to train. And I know, and Grandmaster Shin used to make a point of this, in competitions or in seminars or whatever, thanking families who weren't directly training for their understanding, because it's quite easy, and it does happen. You get, the golfing widows, and there's the tungsten O widows. That's what Grandmaster Shin would be saying. And so from that point, we're together for 10 years. We're both tungsten O through and through. It's great because we can bounce these ideas off each other. We train together with Master Khan. It's interesting though when you have your play fight around the house. I don't think it's standard play fights. Things go flying and get broken quite quickly unless you're very careful. And I'm sure you have the same problem. You tend to treat your house as a dojang sometimes when there's 2 of you inside it. master's thesis as well. Obviously, you can help each other in master's thesis. I did a number of, I've done 2 theses obviously so far, and both times she was my patsy. And both times I think that there was a fair modicum of pain received. Not that I wanted to give it, you have to understand this, but it was a fallout of what I was doing. And so I obviously apologized at the time. And then it came to her turn to do her thesis a few years back, which was basically is alternative self-defense techniques, because I'm sort of 6'2", and she'll kill me now if I get it wrong. Something about 5'4.25". Is it a quarter, I think? And
she'll let me know if you're wrong. She'll post.
Yeah. And so when you've got that kind of height differential, there are elements within our self-defense techniques that are hard to apply, hard to make work. And we all know that from that point of view. It's easy if you're 6'2" and you're trying to show it on someone who's 5'4", just by pure brute power. But if it's the other way around, you haven't got the power, but also because the angles, whatever, the techniques are hard to work. So her thesis was on alternative techniques. So she actually did the attacks that we'd have put on us. So, left hand, right hand, arm, collar, so 1 to 5, and then all the way up. But then actually come up with a different defense, and based on her experience and obviously research on the internet. But for about 5 or 6 months, I then became her patsy, and she loved every single second of inflicting pain on me. And we used to record most of these sessions, and we made a bloopers reel at the end of it, and all the bloopers reel was like, yeah, that works. Stop! Ow! And sort of me kind of quick cuts to each bit. But yeah, it was good. So the relationship from that point of view is great to have. A like-minded tongue-to-toe person in the house, as indeed Master Watson, as you say, it reflects your household as well.
Absolutely. It's you did your 5th Dan thesis on cane techniques, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, she definitely owed you.
Well, the first one was on pressure points, and that's the one that Grandmaster Shin was reading. And that was just the correlation between where we know it's effective to strike people, and how that correlated with Chinese acupuncture meridians and points on that, and how then that also correlated with maybe our nervous system. So it was just a look at the correlation, how certain techniques can be used within our training, how some of them already are, that you might not even realize it. And I've incorporated some of that into my basic training, even with white belts. Excuse me, some of the pressure points, on the arms, incorporating that into number 2 technique, instead of just hitting the hand, just coming a bit higher, hit the pressure point of the forearm, that kind of stuff. Incorporated into training, and that was good. And for a number of years after that, at masters clinics and other seminars, Master Khan would kindly ask me to demonstrate or teach the sort of the pressure point part of it. But then, 5th Dan, I'm also getting older, but then my right hip was playing up, and so I naturally gravitated towards a cane, strange enough. And I think canes are great. I mean, it's a ready. You got a weapon there. It doesn't have to be unsheathed. You can take it on a plane. It's there, but it's you got some really good techniques. It's also got a lot of history within our style, because not with our style, but within Korea, because of the assimilation with the religious monks who would have canes, because they try not to be life takers, but they needed somewhere to defend themselves, and on their travels they'd have a cane. So you can look it up, and it's all relevant to what we do. And I thoroughly enjoyed doing my techniques, but there were 1 or 2 times when Donna was my student at, when I was trying the thesis techniques, where the cane might have gone just another ½ inch further than it should have done. That's all I can say. And then I'd be in trouble for a few days, and then we'd start up again. So yeah, I did owe her, and she took pleasure in giving it back.
She also let me know that she's 5'5", just so write that down.
5'5", yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Having my wife, and again, she's shorter than I am, but it's nice seeing things from her vantage point has helped me become a better instructor. So that way I can teach, like, this is how I would probably do it. However, this is from a different vantage point. And for me, it's been invaluable, like for my teaching, watching her teach and working with her and getting a chance to train with her and bouncing things off is always nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, the thing about Donna as well is that there may be issues with certain techniques, and not just Donna, but anyone who's smaller than someone else. There may be issues with doing certain techniques, but her kicking ability is phenomenal. I mean, if she kicked me, if we're sparring and she kicks me, it feels like a serious guy has kicked me. I mean, she's got powerful legs, so it's you keep clear of them. But as she's only 5'5", apparently, it's easy to keep clear of the legs when you're sparring. It's fine. I'm in trouble again now.
It's all good. A couple more people. There's a lot of people watching along. Sam Hazelden, Gaynor Russell, Dave Hallett says your play fights look like they get out of hand pretty quickly. And Natalie Walker says she enjoys your cane techniques.
Thank you.
I love the cane form. I love the cane form, but whoever invented the cane form did not actually have to use said cane form.
Yeah, it's an interesting form. I like it. I rarely end up teaching it quite a lot on some of our black belt sessions and gradings, but no, I mean, as I say, it's a lovely weapon. The form is, I thoroughly enjoy the form. I mean, we've obviously, it's two forms now, but strange enough, I always forget the start of the lower form, but the Jangum yarn, I'm fine with, because we've been doing it for so long. I mean, my thesis was about the history of the cane, the makeup of the cane. You also get modified canes, like fighting canes, where perhaps the inside of it isn't rounded. It'll be put to an angle for the striking technique. The hook, again, if it's a fighting cane, will be more inwards with a point to it for grabbing. So there's a lot to do with canes. And then the rest of my thesis was actual cane techniques. Again, from playing around with the cane and research, just to try and put some of those into writing. So yes, thoroughly enjoy it.
Excellent. As far as you talked about Grandmaster Shen earlier. I saw on your Dobok, you got your Grandmaster Beaudoin.
There you go.
There you go. There any stories that you could share with us as far as moments with Grandmaster Beaudoin? Obviously, unfortunately, passed away in January.
Yeah. No, I mean, all those masters clinics I mean, there's a huge amount of stories I could say. I'll talk about Grandmaster Beaudoin now, and probably just go on to a couple of others that come to mind quickly. But Grandmaster Beaudoin, what a lovely gentleman. Huge respect, amazing knowledge, and obviously when Grandmaster Shin died, it's a huge hit for us. And when Grandmaster Beaudoin took over at that time, who better? A direct student of Grandmaster Shin for 50 years. So it was a privilege to train under Grandmaster Beaudoin as well. And like I said earlier on, the size of our masters clinics in Europe, we were able to perhaps have a little bit more out of dojang time and talk. And Grandmaster Beaudoin, as I say, huge respect for the man, very friendly, and always open to new fields, new pastures green. And why I say that is one time in Holland, after the Dutch Masters Clinic, myself and Daniel Marco from Sweden, we found ourselves sitting at the bar, and Grandmaster Beaudoin was between us. And I think Master Marco mentioned he had his mouth harmonica with him. And Grandmaster Beaudoin said, "Oh, years back, I played the guitar." And all this time going on in the background, there was a band playing who'd been hired for this is the after clinic party, basically, who'd been hired by our Dutch Tunstall family. So Daniel just went straight up to the band and basically said, "Do you mind if we perhaps borrow some of your instruments?" And kindly enough, the band said, yeah, so he came back up and said, Grandmaster Beaudoin, we've organised that we can become a band. And okay, so Grandmaster Beaudoin was like taken back a bit. So he went up and got given this guitar, and for the next 10 minutes just trying to remember some chords he probably last played 20 years ago. But yeah, hats off to the guy. He didn't back down from this. He went for it, and I placed myself behind the drums because I suppose from about the age of 12 to 28, I played drums in many bands. I know it's hard to believe at the moment, but I used to have hair down halfway down the back. So I set myself down behind the drums, and Master Marco had the mouth harmonica, and the bassist from the band carried on. I think the keyboardist carried on with us, and we just started up a little bit of a blues riff going on. And there's Grandmaster, some blues chords coming out, and it was just great. And everyone sort of stopped drinking or stopped talking, and we had a crowd gather around and an ovation at the end. So that was great. And I think the next year must have been 2012, because that's right. So that must have been 2011. So 2012. No, I lied. It wasn't 2012. 2008. My apologies. 2008. So 2007 in Holland. 2008 went across to the Worlds, and no, I'm getting all my years confused, aren't I? Anyway, my apologies. Next year, the next time the Worlds, Grandmaster Beaudoin was on the stage, and I just sort of walked past. I walked past, and he kind of looked at me, gave me a thumbs up, and did a bit of a drums kind of thing like that, and we acknowledged each other and sort of talking afterwards. He says, "Phil, we gotta do that again. That was fun." And we spoke about maybe even doing a little bit of a practice online. Me, himself, Daniel Marco, and himself. We never got around to it. Although we did have a second go at doing a band again. Strangely enough, in Holland again on another Masters clinic, and again same thing. We had Master Paul Larson, who you showed his picture earlier on. He was on vocals this time, on gut wrenching blues vocals, and yeah, we had another turn at it. So. Yeah, times I'll never forget. And we can, myself and Master Marco and Master Arson, we can truly call ourselves the only ones in the association that we were the band members of Grandmaster Beaudoin as well. So that's all good.
That's a great distinction. I like it.
But I mean, as I say, Masters clinics. Always remember, as I say, when our American Masters instructors would come over, it's always a great time. And I mean, meeting people such as Master K. I remember Master K was at the very first clinic I ever attended, and anyone who knew Master K knew of his prowess in blades, and certainly sharpening blades. And I remember I managed to corner him at one stage, and spoke about how does he sharpen his knives, and he had a penknife, a little penknife. So, well, I made this, and he spoke about the technicalities of how he sharpened it, and he's just showing me. He put it away, and as he's talking, we can hear this drip, drip, drip. And we kind of looking around, drip. And we looked down, and he, as he'd been talking, he had sliced his thumb open, but the knife was so sharp he hadn't felt himself do it. Yeah, and it was kind of stuff like that you remember. So that was great meeting him for the first time, and meeting him subsequently. I mean, at the World Championships. He took us under his wing. He had a great sense of humour. That was nice. We went out for a meal with him and Master Holmstreck and Master Marco, so that was nice. Master Godwin, I think he came over in 2013, if I remember rightly. And great to train with Master Godwin. Obviously, him and Master Khan have got many decades of showing the ultimate bit chuckies together in a. Yeah, I mean, so how can you beat that, really? I've never been able to get my foot over to that angle. Maybe that one, but never that angle. But Master Godwin came over. I remember him teaching us, as he quoted, the $50,000 Hapkido armbar technique. I could show you, but you obviously have to give Master Godwin $50,000 because apparently what it's worth if you know it now. So I remember that coming over. So that was nice. Master Wick, obviously Master Wick.
Many times. So, I've felt that armbar many times, though.
Well, it's how to get out of it, wasn't it? If you know the technique, it's how to get out of it. Yes. That was where the money was, apparently. And Master Wick, fantastic. Obviously, he came over to a number of our UK clinics, and I just remember the first time I met him, we were sitting in the hotel, the reception, probably about 10:30 at night, and you hear these footsteps walking up this hallway. It's kind of dark, and not many people in the hotel reception at that time. And Master Wick came in holding his bag. He basically just got off the flight, got a taxi to the hotel. He came in, and my first impression of him was he got out his split-second survival comb, but they had them specially, like plastic comb. They had them specially made because the very end tooth was bigger and sharper, so that it could latch into the flesh, in certain areas. And he Master Wick, and he goes, and this is to a group of us all surrounding him at that time. He goes, "Look what the idiots left me on the plane with," and he showed us this comb. And then when he said, "I could have taken the pilots out," and this is obviously where his humour was. So okay, that's who Master Wick is, and then his teachings in the Master's Clinic were fantastic. It's either the very next clinic or the clinic after that. He turned up again. Again, we're waiting the hotel reception. Again, the sound of footsteps. Again, Master Wick comes up holding his bag, and the first things he said, "Look what the idiots left me on the plane with this time." And he's holding a split-second pen, because of course you're going to shove a pen and kill people instantly with a pen. So that's kind of how he introduced himself at Master's Clinics. But fantastic times. And what was the other one I was going to say? Well, Master Homscheck, Scott Homscheck. Very good friends with Master Homscheck. We talk quite a lot on Messenger and all that kind of stuff. And first clinic he was over here, we paired up and we did a bit of sparring. And then we got told to take our belts off and do some belt sparring, trying to sort of latch them around and spar. And he had this big smile on his face. This is before I really got to know what his speciality was. Yes. As we're just warming up, he goes, "Well, was it unlucky you? Just about to spar the association's flexible weapons master." And I go, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" And yeah, he latched onto me a few times, and I felt bruised afterwards. So there we go. I think I was set up actually on that. Yes,
yeah. I think he shared a video or a picture this morning of him yoking someone up with a rope.
As you do. Yeah. Yes, as you do. What better things can you do with a rope? Yeah.
I had the opportunity to feel that many a times at Region 8 clinics. So looks like we're at about an hour. So I like to keep it about there. Is there anything you wanted to say to anyone out there in closing that we didn't catch up on?
Yeah, I've got a big speech written. It's about 10 pages. You okay?
Yeah, let's go.
No, I think it's been covered. It was nice to touch on some of the early years. I just can't wait to get back to normal. That's all it is. I think we're just sitting here, want to get back to normal, get this damn virus out of the way, and then hopefully World Championships in 2 years. Be nice to make your personal acquaintance, Master Watson, on that time. But no, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to have a talk. I can't believe where 30 years has gone. It's just ridiculous, really, how quick time flies. So, if anyone's just starting up in training now, just make the most of it, because if you're the right age, it's maybe the best age you'll ever have for your kicking ability, and then it's all downhill from there. And this, of course, is Master Khan, and you can just keep kicking till you're probably about 95. But it's a brilliant course of action that you're on. If you take up martial arts, it can't go wrong. I'm just very thankful that I'm part of this association, and that we've had the leadership and the governance that we have done with our Grandmasters, and obviously under Grandmaster Strong now. That's continuing well. So it's a privilege to be here, and thank you for your time.
My pleasure. So my closing remark will be from Master Khan. He says, "I'm very proud of Master Wiskin. He is a great credit to GB Tong Sudo." So.
Well, that's very kind of him. I'm not quite sure where to go with compliments like that. I get all gushy. So there we go. Yeah, it's very nice.
We can end with that, and then you can go and blush off camera.
Thank you.
Thanks again for joining me, Master Wiskin. I really appreciate it. I had fun talking. And like you said, I hope we get the opportunity soon to meet in person.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Tong Su.
Tong Su.